Yo, what up, YouTube gang? I'm JPatz, and this week we're going to be discussing just how to make dope sounding boom bap drums that have a good bounce, good swing, and just a good feel overall that fits your beat. I wanted to make this video because people have been asking me about my drums, especially because I released a couple packs recently that had drum sounds that I use in my own beats. So I want to just show you guys how to work with them and get some really dope sounding boom bap drums. First, what I wanted to start with is a couple drum breaks, and then we can analyze them and see what makes them dope. So here are the 3 breaks that I want to analyze. Dope classic boom bap breaks that have been used. Let's just look at them closer and see what makes them what they are. Here's the first one. Two things I want to talk about when we analyze in the drum break, and it's timing and velocity. So let's look at timing first. This hat slightly off, this kick a little bit early from that grid, the snare a little bit early, that snare is pretty much on, this kick a little bit early. So you can just see the timing isn't perfect on these things. So that's part 1 of some dope drums. And then part 2 is velocity. Let's look at the waveform specifically of the hi-hats, and you can actually see how some are louder and softer. So if you look closely, you could see this hat is way softer than this one. If we keep going, you could see similar traits. So again, it's a little bit louder than the last one, but still softer than the one that follows it. And that just really helps give it like a movement and something that doesn't just sound like the same thing over and over again and just gets boring to your ear. Now that you know those 2 important concepts of just making dope drums, let's look at other ones and do the same analysis. So this is one of my personal favorite drum breaks, and you can actually see the delay in the drum sound. So let's look a little bit closer. That kick's a little bit early. The snare's late. Kick's late. Hats are late. Snare's late. Kicks are late. So what they also have, which comes back to velocity, is also like ghost kicks, or just lower kicks than the main one. Like you could hear how this one's softer. So right before this bigger kick, there's a softer one. Keep that in mind too, because that helps a lot. That goes back to velocity. And then the final drum break, we don't need to discuss much because it's pretty much what I've already showed you in the last 2 drum breaks. You could see hat delayed, snare a little late, hat delayed, ghost kick. So the reason I wanted to show you this is because this is basically the essence of what we're trying to do when we program our own drums and make dope boom bap drums instead of using a drum break. These concepts are super important because they've been used in so many boom bap beats in the past. So now that we understand these techniques, we can actually use them in our own drum sounds when we are programming. But the first thing I wanted to discuss before that is there's no shame in using a drum break in your beats. Like I do this all the time to this day, and nothing's going to replicate the real drummer. So I think it's always fire to use a drum break, especially if you don't trust your drum programming abilities. Don't sleep on that too, because just using a drum break that fits the melody or the sample or the chops, whatever, there's no harm in that. That happens all the time. Don't be afraid to just use a drum break if it works and it fits the beat well. With that being said, I'm going to just program some simple drums using drums from the free kit I dropped last week. And I'm going to just show you how we could start improving them and making them better as we apply more programming techniques. I think the most basic form would just be like clicking in the drum. So let's go ahead and do that. So what you might notice with these drums from this kit is that there's actually a little bit of swing already because I have the hat delayed a bit. So if you go back to the sample, you can actually see there's some space before the hat. That's just adds some natural swing already because that's one of the ideas I was telling you about, which is timing. But for this example, I'm going to actually take that swing away. You could hear how stiff and straight it sounds with no swing really. So the first idea is applying a groove from the groove pool. If you go over here on the left to grooves, you can actually use a bunch of grooves that Ableton already has in there. Hip hop NY cut 16ths. Let's see how that sounds. So if you want to see what the groove is actually doing, then you can click commit right here. And you can actually see, so what it's doing is pushing this hat back, pushing this hat forward, this kick a little forward, this hat a little bit back. And to be honest, I don't really like this groove, so let's try find another one and find something that I like more. I just want like a normal 8th note swing. Let's go like 52% swing. You could tell a little bit better than just having no swing. It's not super aggressive because it's only 52%, but it helps and it just adds a little more swing. So let's commit it. Again, you could see pulling this hat back a bit. I like those hats just being a little bit behind, so we're gonna leave that. And then what you could do is apply the next concept, and this can either be by just lowering the velocities like this. Let's say we take just every second hat and lower the velocity. And that starts to give it more of that like just that neck movement drum groove that you want, you know? So it's got the louder hat and then the lower one and then the louder one and the lower one, and that just adds a real nice groove to it. And with it being slightly behind beat, it just has a really good rhythm. Okay, so now I want to discuss part 2 of just taking a groove or a swing from drums and applying it to your own. So this technique is a really cool one. I don't know if it's exclusive to Ableton or if you could do it in other DAWs, but in Ableton they have it where you can literally just right click the break and then do extract grooves. And what that's going to do is essentially the same thing as this groove pool, and you can apply that to your own drums. So instead of taking a preset groove that they have in the groove pool, you can come back here, click groove, and click break 3. So now what it's done is extracted the groove from that drum break and it's been applied to the drums. So that's just another cool technique, and we can commit the groove to show you what it's done. Now you see it's like pushed everything back, which sometimes isn't the greatest, but what you can do is always adjust from here. So like, say I want my kicks to be on and my snares to be on. Command U to quantize them. So you could see that's actually a dope bounce too, so don't sleep on that idea. So another thing I always see being discussed when people talk about how they program their drums is whether they quantize like the kick or the snare. For me, I'm a believer in just keeping it super natural, because a lot of dope producers and people do put their kick and snare fully quantized on and then have the hi-hats have swing. But for me, I like sometimes having the snare a little bit off or the kick a little bit off, and I'm going to show you right here exactly why. So let's do like a ghost kick. So it's just the kick that comes before the main kick. Like if I have this on, that's really weird. It doesn't sound good. But if I start pulling this back, you start to see that it sounds way better than if it's fully quantized. So another reason I love doing that is because we literally analyzed the drum break and saw that that was a difference. So then another thing that we could do is have the snare not be fully on, or have it be a little bit early, you know? So watch if I start bringing it back. Or a little bit early. And of course, not everyone needs to be the same. Like some could be on, some could be a little early, some could be a little late. But what I think is important is at the end of the day, just trusting your ears and then listening to the music that you're working with. So say you have some sample chops that are super early, you might want your drums to be a little bit early too, or vice versa. If the sample's a little bit late, you might want your drums to be a little bit early or a little bit late. Like make sure that whatever groove you choose to go with is something that fits with the music that you're working with. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. The next concept I wanted to discuss is using a hi-hat loop. So maybe you don't want to use like the full drum break or use the whole drum break. You want like your own drum sounds. A lot of packs now have dope hi-hat loops that sound live. Get rid of this. Say you're going to go with the quantize drum technique. Still going to keep that kick a little bit before. But you still want it to have that live feel. Hi-hat loops are a great way of doing that. So here's a hat loop from my pack that just has drums I've used in beats. So let's just put that in there. And instantly it has swing, so don't sleep on that idea either. And then lastly, one of my favorite techniques that I like to do that requires a little bit more patience or just a little more time to get it right is finger drumming, especially because I'm not good at it. But what it does is give you that real human bounce that you would actually play if you were drumming on the track, you know? So let's just record something. So I'm going to go and quantize the kick, but actually keep the snares how they are. And then let's record a hat. And you could see just already we got like our own groove, our own feel, and our own rhythm. So now all you need to do is kind of just match that. So say we had a melody that was kind of early. Maybe this is what we wanted. We got some early snares. We got some hats a little bit behind. And then we want to just keep it consistent and have that hat a little behind. Like that's a dope swing. But again, you got to just make sure that it fits the beat. You also have the snares behind. Or the hat's way behind. And that gives it that like behind lazy feel. So it really just depends on what you want, you know. You got to just trust your ears in this case. I don't think there's any other way or any better way of approaching it. But hopefully with these techniques I've showed you, you now will kind of have it figured out. Final thing I wanted to address is that none of this really matters if you don't have good initial sound selection. So what I recommend you do if you're not comfortable with sound selection is study your favorite beats and then analyze the drum sounds they're doing. Like literally listen to the snare they use, listen to the kick they use, listen to the hats they use, and just really study what you like, and I guarantee it'll increase your skills. So with that being said, hopefully there's some helpful content in this video that will help you up your drum game and take them to the next level. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below and I'll do my best to get them answered. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell, because it really just helps out my channel and kind of just keeps me motivated to continue making videos for you guys and sharing my knowledge. So thanks for tapping in. I'm JPatz. Peace.